are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That is Evo. It is Friday night. We are back. It is hot as fuck. Basically everywhere. I know it's hot where you are. It's hot where I am. We just finished up a baseball game. Man, I am ready to talk some sports because we did not play a very good baseball game just a little bit ago. But, whew, man, it's been interesting little week. A couple small stories. One big story that we really haven't talked about too much at all yet that we're going to cover today. But before we start diving into everything, let me bring my man Evo. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad it's the weekend. This is final prep weekend before we go pick up the boys out in Ohio. So won't be seeing you, just be streaming through. We'll probably be in and out of Ohio in like less than an hour, maybe 2 hours tops. However long it's going to take us to jump the Indiana border in and back out. Right. So, but yeah, getting prepped for that. Looking forward to it. And yeah, just excited to have one more week without the boys around here before we have all the fun of that.
Yeah. I'm pumped for the boys joining you guys. Like it's going to be really cool for them. Really cool for you guys as well. Having that extra time. So I'm very excited for you guys. Fair warning though, it is hot and humid as fuck here right now. I don't know if it will be by next week. I hope it's not. The heat needs to die down because like it's the humidity is what makes it worse. It was asinine hot. Like I was rocking the cooling towels, several of them throughout the baseball game today. It's sweltering. Like I don't know if the only time I can think of playing a baseball game where it's been this hot was in Arizona. But it always reminds me of one of my favorite all-time baseball movies, The Sandlot. Out here baking like a toasted cheeser. Like it's so hot we can't play. It's how the boys felt. I feel like a little bit today because we got our ass kicked for 99.9% of today's game. But we did end up winning.
It was freeze your jock strap.
Oh yeah, don't do that, boys. But we did end up getting a dub, 13-10. We had let me go to the box score here because it's disgusting.
I was gonna say I didn't expect to hear that you won if you're talking that it was this bad.
We got our asses beat up and down the baseball diamond for the majority of this game. It was 5-1 after the first. We each got one, 2-1, 6-2, 7-2. Then we started getting a couple runs, and then it was last full inning that we were able to play the top of the fifth. Team had to bring in a new pitcher, and none of their pitchers could find the zone. We walked 12 times in that inning and scored 8 runs and then was able to get 3 outs. So it was not literally until the very end when they couldn't throw a strike that we were given a win. I feel like
when they beat themselves.
Correct. And that's exactly what I told the boys. And I feel like some people still are not quite on that board yet. Like I have parents that on my team that are great about it. Nobody complains really when I'm hard on their boys because, I mean, life's going to be hard on them, and it's been consistent all year, and they've learned to get better with that. The other team doesn't necessarily like it so much. So when we are given a gift like that, they get very upset. It was, dude, we should have lost. I told the boys that they should have lost because we cannot baby them at this point. We're competing. We are always competing. Winning is important. So yeah, they didn't win. They were given a gift, and hopefully tomorrow they go with better energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did not win.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing to try to instill that was not a win in them, just because look, I've been in that situation before where I believe like one of my teams growing up, like we just ran out of pitchers and we were throwing people out there that didn't pitch, or you'd have a situation where it's like none of your pitchers could show up because of other obligations. And
Right.
so now you're putting guys out there that it's like this is normally an outfielder or something like that, or normally a third baseman, and they're either just throwing slow ducks down the middle that are getting crushed, or
they're just not hitting the zone.
it doesn't feel good to be on that team for sure. So I guarantee that your opponent felt terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is part of competition, I suppose. But either way, it does not feel like I wouldn't be going home from that game feeling like I feel
Excited?
good about that win.
No, we did not win. Listen, every time that you get a win, it's a good thing, right? All wins are good. But some wins are not as good. This was a bad win. It's just what it is. Like being given 8 runs on walks essentially in the last at bat. 8 runs, like we are down 5-10 going into that. No, I'm sorry, 5-9. And we have not really done much of anything. So yeah, it should have been their game. Tough break for those kids. I feel bad for them. But at the same time, happy for my boys. Glad that we got the dub, and we'll continue on tomorrow. Another afternoon game, 12:30. It's going to be hot as fuck again. 93. I got producer Amber over here feeding me the weather. So 93 degrees. It's going to be fucking. Oh man, not looking forward to that.
It's been high 90s and stuff here, but the difference is we don't have the humidity. I've played in those games up in Minnesota where you're having games mid-high 90s and it's 100% humidity, and those are just dogs for sure. Like it is definitely wearing on you. But it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the sport, right? You ain't playing out there in the snow, so.
Nope. But we wanted to watch a baseball game when we started today, though. Nobody wanted to play a baseball game. They're all watching a baseball game.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? Good job, boys. Got a dub. We'll do it again. Hopefully.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's youth sports getting this mother effer started.
Mm-hmm. We do have another game going on right now, actually. Again, something we haven't really talked about. We got these Stanley Cup finals going on right now. Currently, Florida leads the series 3-2, but the Oilers are up 1-0 at the end of the first period. So keeping track of that. If the Panthers pull one off tonight, they will be the victors in this final series. For any of you hockey fans out there, sorry we haven't covered it too much, but
yeah. Listen, the Stanley Cup Finals is some of the best sports on TV, but we have been crazy busy just in our own lives and with random stories that have come up over the last couple of weeks that we needed to kind of talk about. But Stanley Cup Finals are some of the best playoff sports you can watch. And Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, that is like upper echelon, like greatest type of spectacles you can witness. I'm hoping for Game 7. And honestly, if I'm going to be straight about it, I'm pulling for the Oilers. Because that one chick has great cans. And I was just her dedication to the squad, it was just so impressive. So I'm pulling for them.
Yeah, for anyone that isn't tracking, an Oilers fan, female type, pulled her milk cannons out at one point in time during was it this series or last series? I can't remember.
I think it was last series.
Yeah, I saw something pop up today about how she was offered a pornographical job or OnlyFans management or something like that, and is what it is. Good for her being a fan of her team and sport, I suppose.
Sex work is just like automatic. People are just like, hey, just do sex work.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it, but man, we jumped to that very quickly.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to just be like, hey, she flashed people.
Yeah, if you're willing to show skin in public, someone will be willing to.
Some people pay you for it, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, look, game 7 would be cool. At least this series seems to be going better than the NBA finals. It's actually a little bit more of a competent two teams that are facing each other. So that's always good for the sport. And this is one of the, I believe, one of the best Stanley Cup playoffs in NHL history as far as ratings are concerned. Like, we know that hockey's been a bit of a struggling sport, especially ratings and things like that. This year, it has just been gangbusters.
Well, I think they just got a new TV deal as well. Got last year, so I think that's that probably has helped with the boon. They're doing a better job of getting hockey out there. It's not one of our things that we follow enough, I believe, to talk about all the time, because nobody wants to listen to me to talk about hockey. Like there are plenty of other people you'd rather listen to talk about hockey. You want to listen for football, baseball, that kind of stuff. That's where
I'm a hockey fan and a fan of the Wild and stuff like that, but it is tough to keep up with so many sports that have longer seasons and stuff like that, and actually be able to talk in a relevant sense about it. So
listen, I keep up with baseball. That is hard enough.
Yeah. For sure.
Right.
But we did just talk a little bit about basketball there. We did have some basketball news. The Lakers have a new head coach.
Yeah. Not the guy they wanted. And wild, that's college coach decides to not take a fucking bag from the Lakers. Goes back to UConn. JJ Redick gets the job. JJ Redick is a guy who was prolific in college, wins the Naismith, greatest player in the country, goes to the NBA, is not greatest player type, but is a solid contributor, six-man type dude that you want on your squad for fucking 15 years, maybe even a little bit more than that, I feel like. So JJ's a dude that knows a lot of basketball. It'll be interesting to me how JJ feels about the fact that he was not the first choice. Does this JJ Redick news signal the return of LeBron James to the Lakers? JJ and LeBron have a podcast that they do together. It has been widely reported that LeBron was pulling for JJ to become the head coach. Now he is. Is this a play by the Lakers after they miss out on their guy? They just say, well, fuck, we'll just let GM LeBron do his thing and bring in his coach. And hopefully we'll build a team around him and compete for another title. By the way, be prepared to draft Bronny in the second round.
Yeah, look, it kind of feels that way. Like, obviously they offered the bag, like you said, to the other coach, college coach, and he turned it down, which is probably smart. Like, you're only going to be taking home a minuscule amount of that, being taxed in California. So that makes sense. Also, you've got, that winning pedigree out there. But for Redick to come in, this is his first coaching job. It's a little bit interesting. It does absolutely feel like plan B in order to keep LeBron there, appease LeBron, bring in a guy that, look, we've seen this so often, and it feels like it's happening more often in sports. Players becoming coaches relatively quick after their career.
Very quick. Not even having a position on a staff beforehand. Right. Going from the booth to the fucking court as the lead guy. Yeah,
and they think that allegedly, his basketball IQ and his straight quote from ESPN, basketball IQ and ability to connect with players, which he's obviously going to have as a former player. The dynamic does become different when you become a coach, and we'll see if he can overcome that. Sometimes those coaches don't, but they're hoping to surround him with a good coaching staff that'll actually be more competent coaching wise in order to help him. He'll be a little bit more of that motivational leader type person and connecting with the players and things like that. And look, when they say connecting with the players, the one player that they're hoping to connect with is LeBron. He's such a huge draw. That's sort of a market out there in LA. It makes sense for LA to want to keep him there. And it makes sense a little bit for LeBron as well. Like, yes, he could go somewhere else and hunt for another championship.
Cleveland.
But he's already there. It's easy to stay. Now you've got your buddy, your guy, your podcast co-host, your choice of coach there. It's all kind of fitting in with what he wants. And then, it's going to be a pretty easy connection for them to go after Bronny as well. Which, I could see this being almost like LeBron's maybe last year and hand over the
Agreed.
torch to his son in that sort of a situation. You're having to do less moving and stuff like that, because obviously they're out there in LA. So it makes a lot of sense for them to do this. It does still feel like a plan B, though. The plan A obviously is to bring in a powerhouse coach, and now you can't
And
do
then
that.
you
So
move off of LeBron and you reboot, you rebuild. You're like, okay, we're gonna reset. And they were all in for reset, and then reset didn't happen. Like, because here's the thing: there's a lot of coaches that have been recently fired that are going to be retreads in the NBA, and I don't know if you're super tracking, but the retreads in the NBA may be worse than the retreads that we get in the NFL. That's how outrageously bad most of these coaches are. Like, this guy's going to be fired at some point in the next 3 years. That's how we felt about the Gannon hire down in Arizona. Like, there are some dudes that are not long for the seat when they're hired, and that's kind of what is left, especially if you don't make the big signing. You have to go plan B and JJ Redick, who's also a big signing, which works for the Lakers, because after that, it's nothing but retreads, and they're not going to bring you a championship, which is why I'm not super excited or concerned with what the Cavs do, because I don't know that who they bring in is going to fucking matter.
And I honestly don't know if JJ Redick ever truly had aspirations of becoming a head coach in the NBA, but this is a relatively low risk deal for him. He's getting roughly about $8 million a year. Now, the full contract details as far as length haven't been laid out, but getting $8 million a year when they offered Dan Hurley a 6 year, $70 million contract, like, it's not that far off. And then in comparison to other coaches in the NBA, you have Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Michael Malone, Rick Carlisle, all getting roughly around $8 million per year. And those are established coaches where you kind of know what you're getting out of them. You're not knowing what you're getting out of JJ Redick because he's never done this before. And so for JJ Redick to come in, it's like, hey, I'm making really good coaching money. The expectation of me is that I am raw, green. You're not going to necessarily, like, if I fail, everyone expects me to be fired anyways.
Yeah.
I just made a bag, and it's not really on me too much. It's everyone knows that this move is more than likely to keep LeBron there.
LeBron. This is all on LeBron. So JJ is free and clear.
Right. So if things go wrong and they fire me, I just made a whole bunch of money, and I don't necessarily look like the bad guy here. It's more so the ownership.
That's a good point.
So, like, it's a really good deal for JJ Redick to go in there, make a boatload of money, at least in the short term. And then look, maybe it all falls into place. Maybe he is a great coach. Maybe things work out. And then he looks
like a fucking
fantastic.
Hero and a genius.
Yeah. And that's going to bring more jobs in the future now.
Yeah.
So with probably higher annual average value as well. So look, it's a great thing for him. And I don't know if it's a great thing for the Lakers, because obviously they want Dan Hurley, but it might be the right thing if they want to keep LeBron, and this is what keeps him there.
I am still in the belief that you can win a championship with LeBron James as your best player. I don't think that he's that far past. I think that he has to have someone incredibly comparable to where he's at, though. Like, if you get somebody who is way better, because there are guys in the league now that are better than LeBron. LeBron is no longer the best player in the league, and this might be the first year that that's happened since LeBron's third year in the league. But I think he's still good enough to win as if he's your best guy. But you have to have Anthony Davis playing at that same fucking level that LeBron plays at, and you need a shooter to be able to play at that level, which is what they lacked. So it'll be interesting to see how JJ develops a system. Widely known as a great three-ball shooter, JJ can maybe draw some shit up to find some open looks for guys, because that's how JJ made his entire career. That will be massively beneficial towards what the Lakers are trying to do. They need to spread the floor a little bit more. They need to find competent shooters, because LeBron and Anthony Davis can still operate down low in the block and do whatever you need. This could be a really nice move, but we'll get off of this. Let's get off of the basketball because we're so far away from finding out anything about who's going to do what. Like good basketball doesn't start for another 6 months.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but with championship aspirations in mind, we did recently have a Super Bowl champion team get their Super Bowl rings. The Kansas City Chiefs got their rings, and there was a little bit of an oopsie with that.
Yeah, whoopsies.
Yep. So Chiefs went into the into the playoffs, excuse me, as the what seed were they? They were the
7 seed.
7 seed, yeah. But the ring listed them as the 6 seed. Or no, Miami was the 6 seed. Chiefs were the 7 seed, maybe. Either way, the seeding.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter.
It was a mistake, which is really interesting. I mean, these rings, if you haven't seen them before, are fucking egregious. They are gigantic. The Super Bowl ring has 505 round diamonds, 19 baguettes, 5 marquee diamonds, and 38 genuine rubies. An insane amount of diamonds and a lot of thought and process went into all this. And yeah, someone made a mistake. I don't know that it was the jeweler necessarily. I mean, I'm sure the jeweler played a part, but this had to have passed through several people. And again, I don't know how the process works. I don't know if the jeweler that creates these rings has their designers make something up and then displays it to the team or different options to the team. And the team says, yeah, that's the one I want. But either way, it probably, again, passed through multiple levels of people who just kind of overlooked certain things and let this mistake happen. I believe this was kind of announced on the New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis Kelce. And they don't really care about it. Travis Kelce said that he's not too concerned with it.
Fuck. I believe his exact quote is, I don't give a fuck what seed the Dolphins
was.
Yeah,
they were 7th. Who cares? They could have put no seeds on the side of them and it would have been fine. It just makes it more unique. And we're really made it detailed. Oops.
I mean, 40K for a ring is a lot of money. I mean, obviously, they're probably worth far over 40K based on the limited quantity and how you can obtain one.
Yeah, the cost of the diamonds and stuff like that is with that 40K. It's way beyond that when you talk about the actual value.
The value is millions of dollars, and the fact that it is fucked up probably does increase the value a little bit. Like, it will be an interesting, cool little piece. The right down the road from me, hour and a half away, Canton, the Hall of Fame has an image of every ring. I would be willing to bet that is going to be talked about because I have somebody talk about all of these rings and how unique they are and all that stuff. So that'll be a nice little piece of history. I think Travis is probably right. Like, who gives a fuck? The ring is what matters. What's on that shit don't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, when you have that many rings, or you're just collecting them, at this point, it's nice to have a little bit of extra unique story behind some of them. But hey,
they're not done, dude. They're gonna get a couple more.
I mean, it's absolutely possible.
I think Trav has another 3 to 4 years in him.
Maybe we'll see what happens with Taylor Swift.
Wow.
I don't know how many years
Taylor let that man play football. He was born for that shit.
He is getting a little bit older, and
he's up there. He's getting up there in age.
At some point in time, you want to enjoy your life with your $1 billion girlfriend,
wildly successful girlfriend, at probably some point wife if you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, hopefully, for his sake. But hey, another fun little transition here. We just talked about a historical object there in that ring. Well, history is actually not necessarily being rewritten, but being added back where it should have been all along. MLB is adding the Negro League players' stats back into the MLB statistics, which is kind of a surprise to me that it hadn't been done yet. But for it to happen now, it's better than not to have happened. Obviously, sad that it happens on the week that Willie Mays passes away, former Negro Leagues player. But it does happen right around Juneteenth, which, probably played into the announcement to some extent because I'm sure baseball wants to capitalize on that as much as possible. But obviously, this is a good thing. For those who didn't know, African Americans were not allowed to play professional baseball for the longest time. They had the Negro Leagues because of it. And so they were seen as less than by culture, society, and obviously baseball for a long time. And it was terrible. Obviously, it's a black mark on the sport, black mark on our history here as a country. And that sounds kind of bad, me saying a black mark, huh? I mean no ill will by that.
Everybody understands, I think, what you mean.
But obviously, it's a bad thing.
Yeah. So the fact that they weren't able to integrate baseball in a timely enough fashion, which it never should have had, like it should have just fucking always been that way. But the fact that these guys are being recognized for their excellent contributions to the sport of baseball is awesome, in my opinion. Because some of the numbers, and I've got some stats pulled up here on like big time records that have changed. Single season record batting average. Josh Gibson now holds that record at 466. That's asinine that you could hit that well in a season. Okay. Slugging. Josh Gibson slugged 974. Also asinine numbers. Like, I don't care that you were apparently in a lesser league, which was the Negro Leagues were not really a lesser league. When you see all the guys that made the transition from that league and into Major League Baseball and how they kind of dominated as that continued to happen.
Well, I brought up Willie Mays. He started his career with the Birmingham Black Barons and transitioned to become one of the greatest Giants players of all time.
Greatest center fielder, probably of all time. He'd have my vote.
Yeah, definitely has
Griffey. I mean, real close for me.
Yeah, we all love Griffey. We grew up in the Griffey time.
We did grow up in Griffey.
A little bit different because we didn't get to see a lot of this. We were too young for that.
Right, but like when you see these numbers, you cannot possibly believe that this was a lesser league. When you consider the players that were in this league, there's no way it was less. Like Satchel Paige, he now ranks third all time in a season. 101 ERA. That's fucking ridiculous. And that's third place. So that's outrageous as well. But Satchel Paige pitched into like his fucking late 50s in major leagues. Like at one point he was brought out kind of as a spectacle. And then I think he pitched like 6 shutout innings. So he wasn't a spectacle. Couple more stats here. All-time batting leader, batting average goes to Josh Gibson at 372, surpassing Ty Cobb. That is a big deal in baseball. Ty Cobb has been the batting average leader for eternity. Ty Cobb has always been one of the greatest hitters ever, and he still is. But the fact that he is no longer the lead, it's going to rub some people the wrong way. Ty Cobb, not generally the nicest person in the world. If you know anything about Ty Cobb and some of that story, he was kind of a piece of shit from some of the accounts. So I don't know if baseball is necessarily upset that Josh Gibson is now the leader, but there is a new leader. And Josh Gibson is on this list so much. Slugging percentage, 718 for a career. Holy shit. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, on base plus slugging. Like, surpassing Babe Ruth. Josh Gibson. This is awesome. It's great for baseball. And I hope that more people start to actually pay attention to those other leagues. Those barnstormer leagues, they were awesome. They were really cool. And we actually have a team like that now in the Savannah Bananas. That barnstorming team, they bring people in. Sure, it's a different brand of baseball. It's not a normal baseball game like the Negro Leagues were. But that's how cool and fun baseball can be. You can have those barnstorming leagues and people can just have a great time. It's good for baseball that this is being integrated. All of this stuff is great for baseball. And I hope more people take recognition and put eyes on this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. Well, those are all of kind of our major stories.
Yeah,
Anything else?
not really, man. Like, so we are in the dog days of summer. It's not only a baseball expression, because when you do a podcast and you talk about football a lot, end of June, beginning of July,
You have a 6-week
man, got
time
shit to
period.
talk about.
You got a 6-week time period that gets really dry. Yeah, it's
Really dry.
some mini camps and things like that going on, and little stories here and there. Nothing too major. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson just signed a big contract for himself today or yesterday, I believe. And
Yesterday, I
good
think.
good for him. It is a little egregious for, I like Ramondre Stevenson, but
It's
he's
what,
a
4-year 36
mid-tier
or
back.
3-year 36?
I believe it's 4 and 36, which is great
436.
money for him. Get it while you can.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a running back, that's a pretty expensive contract for a guy who is average. I mean, above average, maybe.
I like Ramondre Stevenson. Like, if he has other weapons around him, I think he could be a great back. But
Sure.
if you name a starter on the Patriots offense not named Ramondre Stevenson.
KJ Osborne.
The only reason you know that is because he was a Viking.
Yep.
The only reason you know that. So there's nobody over there. There's nobody who's a weapon. Who the fuck's playing quarterback? We think the rookie,
Jacoby
maybe?
Brissett.
Do you think Jacoby's going to start?
I think Jacoby should start. But I think no one knows at this point because they haven't said a fucking word.
Nobody has talked about anything out of Patriots camp. You don't know shit about what's going on.
It's a completely new world there with Gerard Mayo running the show and Bill Belichick running off with his 20-something-year-old cheerleader girlfriend.
You know what, Bill? Respect the hustle, bro, but that's a little young. Like, that's a little young. That feels awkward, young. Right?
I mean, look, he hasn't been able to live his Leonardo DiCaprio lifestyle.
Oh,
he's been too focused on the football, and now he gets to have a little fun, I guess.
You know, I mean, he's starting to date girls in their young 20s. Bill's going to college. He's going to go be a college coach now.
Like he might be testing the waters to see, do I like this? And you might, Bill.
No, well, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not. Nope. We got any other news? Any other things going on? I mean, we can talk about, the fight game. Let's talk about Conor McGregor. Listen, I'm still off on Conor McGregor. I'm done with Conor McGregor, but he does have a legitimate injury. The toe is broken. It's very broken, and it would be almost impossible for him to fight his fight with his foot that way. So I will give him a little bit, benefit of the doubt that why he couldn't go. But still, I'm tired of talking about Conor McGregor in the fight.
Yeah, I'm unaware. Do steroids make your bones more brittle?
I don't know, but
I don't think they do. I think if anything, they make them stronger.
I believe maybe, which is crazy because Conor totally went at, was it Ryan Garcia, boxer, for using the juice, like called him out like a juice head. Conor has been hitting up the fucking TRT supermarket every week.
Yeah, if not more than that. I'm not.
Oh, he's getting gear. He's getting gear. He was totally on gear, dude.
The guy is absolutely yoked. I don't know if he was just drinking raw milk like me, because he got pretty fucking big. That was it. Ryan Garcia did end up, he ended up having to vacate that last win. I believe give something like $1 million back and a 10K fine, and now Haney has a undefeated career again because they have changed the record books. I believe Garcia actually came out and said something like he's retiring now or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Ryan Garcia
kind of crazy.
bounced back from that. Oh, he's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Or
he's been hitting the head too many times.
He's super onto something, and we should it's only two things. Either he's going to be 100% right, or he's going to be 100% wrong. And the good money is on 100% wrong because he is deep in the I think it's QAnon fucking realm of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
He'll beat your ass, but he has no idea what's going on.
Right. Well, hey, Look, one of the things, obviously, he ended up having to vacate that title because he had Osterine in his system or something like that, considered a
Yeah,
performance
why
enhancer.
SARMs? SARMs are easy to test for as well. Like, I don't understand why we're doing SARMs. If you're gonna fucking do it, just take the roids, like, and then cycle off like every other athlete who competes at a high level, like in the Olympics. There you go.
Yep.
Segue.
There's the
Boom.
segue. Well, so another topic that I thought was really interesting this week, it's not necessarily news this week, other than the fact that the Joe Rogan Experience podcast recently had two of the founders of the Enhanced Games on. So the Enhanced Games, which is a legitimate sporting competition group, is putting on Olympic level competition for athletes where it is allowed to be enhanced, to take performance enhancing drugs, supplements, what have you. You don't have to. You can be natty and compete if you want, but they are not making it illegal to use these things in this sport and competition, which from the outset, a lot of people are probably like, oh, this is unfair. Well, if the playing field is even for everybody, you can take whatever
If
you
you
want.
can take it or you cannot.
It is the ability for us to see who the most insanely athletic human beings, the
Super
outliers,
human.
the outliers of our society.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. I would tell everyone, go check out that podcast. They're free on YouTube now. But they throw around these statistics. Something like 60% of Olympic athletes have or are using performance enhancers, and they've found ways around it. And I would love to say that the US isn't participating in this, but I'm sure they are to some extent.
There's nothing that the US will not advocate for if it means that we're getting a dub.
For sure.
Like most countries.
Yeah,
we're not
China,
maybe not Russia. We're not doing state-sponsored fucking cheating. But we're not exactly like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that.
I mean, there was just a story about something like 20-something Chinese swimmers who all popped hot for something. And the Chinese government basically came out and said, oh, we've been providing them these legal supplements, but they were made at one of our facilities and there was cross-contamination. Because in the vats and stuff like that, they also were making these sorts of drugs and stuff like that. Either way, the Enhanced Games basically is saying, hey, athletes are not getting paid. These high-level athletes, they're not getting paid what they should be paid. If for people who don't know, and I think this is a good topic for us to look into and kind of report on here in the future with the Olympics just around the corner, Olympic athletes don't get paid dog shit, especially not by the Olympics themselves. The Olympics are...
We made more in the Army than these Olympic athletes are making.
For sure. Like the average Olympic athlete makes somewhere around $30,000 per year. And that is obviously before, their nation maybe gives them a stipend or extra money before their sponsorships, things like that. But that being said, you have these top tier level athletes who are devoting essentially, 4 years at a time in order to be able to compete on the highest level, who are making pennies compared to what other athletes are making. Mm-hmm. And they are forced into this situation where they feel like, hey, I have to do whatever I can in order to compete. And they probably are taking performance enhancers. The Olympics, it is run by a board of Europeans who elect themselves. There is no governing body outside of the Olympics that actually regulates them. What the Olympic boards want, they get. What they say goes. And everyone kind of feeds into it because the Olympics are the Olympics. There's nothing out there competing against them.
And there never will be. Games. Even with the Enhanced Games, while they are a very cool idea, will never compete against the Olympics.
For sure. And the Enhanced Games sounds like it is not going to be, like a 4-year type thing. Like they're going to hold regular events. Basically, the thought process is they are going to pay their athletes well, like reasonable money to come and compete.
On. Is the Saudi group behind this? Because if they're not, they fucking should be and probably will be fairly quickly.
So there is private investors. I don't know who.
Got it.
I know that one of the two founders actually has a lot of pharmaceutical backing. He has something, a bunch of companies in the pharmaceutical realm. The Bavarian guy from this group. But look, they're going to be paying these athletes well. When they break world records, specifically, I believe a swimming record and one of the 100-yard dash or something like that, if world records are broken by these enhanced athletes, they get $1 million prize, which you don't see any sort of a prize in the Olympics for anything like this. and they are going to be allowed to take performance enhancers. The stipulation with this essentially is that there is no stipulation. They are going to provide medical professionals to monitor these people to make sure that they are doing these performance enhancers in the most healthy way possible. Now, that kind of seems like an oxymoron to a lot of people because people will say, well, these performance enhancers aren't healthy. In a lot of cases, they can be very detrimental to your health if you are not doing them under the supervision of a medical professional who is making sure that you are not doing extreme permanent damage to your body. And they can help give them clean performance enhancers. They can monitor these things. They can help them cycle if they're on steroids, things like that. And compared to like the bodybuilding world right now, that is still kind of underground with your
and
performance
then everybody
enhancers.
Becomes a scientist who's not a fucking scientist about when you're on, when you're off, what the dose is. And
look, I would know nothing.
Make any sense.
I would know nothing about being on a deployment and reading bodybuilding forums and getting some black fucking water sent to us from China and fucking injecting in the butt and getting all sorts of weird reactions and stuff like that, along with mad fucking gains. I wouldn't know anything about that. But
or legalsteroids.com, which is, I don't even know if they're still real. Not that it might not even be a website. I've only ever possibly heard of it. And then you drop 40 pounds and then you come home with 12% less body fat. I don't know what that would be like.
Right. But, and look, there's things like peptides that the Olympic Committee does not allow. UFC doesn't allow peptides like BPC 157, which is a very well-known peptide, which you are able to locally inject into injuries, ligaments, things like that. And it repairs it almost as good, if not better than stem cells in some instances. These are things that are good, healthy things for athletes that don't have detrimental side effects, but they are not allowed because they're considered performance enhancing as far as your recovery from injuries. These athletes are going to be allowed to take these things. They're going to be allowed to do these things. Look, at the end of the day, these athletes are adults. They should have ownership over their bodies. My body, my choice, right? We can all kind of maybe get behind that depending on your political thoughts. But that being said, you have the right, if you are 21 or older, to go out and drink, to smoke a cigarette, to smoke a cigar, in a lot of places, to take medical cannabis or legal cannabis. You can do all these things. In some states, you can go out and fucking shoot some heroin up because that's legal. And
you will not get in trouble.
Right. You, if you're an adult, you have the ability to go out and do these things.
Yes.
Previously, they have been limited to what they can do athletically because gaming commissions for like boxing and MMA and stuff are involved.
You're not going to bet.
Athletic commissions.
There is no way they will allow any bets on this sport for quite some time, if at all, because the performance enhancers.
I don't know what the legalities of that would be.
I would imagine that's going to have to work its way through Congress with anti-cheat, because what they're defining as cheating. I don't know. That's going to be a wild scenario.
Either way,
if you're getting lines, well, you're not betting. I'm not betting on fucking anybody who's not juicing. One, and like you're who's been juicing longer. Okay, cool. Let's take this guy. He's been figuring it out. Like I would have a hard time seeing how Vegas would make lines for that and the legality of the lines, because I mean, technically, steroids are still a controlled substance. Class 3, just like marijuana is now. But Schedule 3 fucking is, somebody can still kind of get in trouble for that. I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah. So as long as it is prescribed by doctors, which they are having doctors,
but
part of this.
Well, the doctors are just they're doctors in name, but they're not doing medical evaluations. You know this, and I know this.
I'm sure they have to be to some extent.
Not if the intent is to just fucking juice to see who is superhuman. Like that.
I mean, if that's
how is a doctor saying,
if that's your job, and you are under the medical supervision,
saying, no, you can do this. They still got to find it from somewhere. There's no way they can legally supply it. Now, don't get me wrong. This enhanced game sounds awesome. We've been begging for this for the last 20 years as fans of the Olympics, like just let these guys
as fans of
do
all
as
these
many fucking steroids as they can
we've
and
had
see
this
what the human body can do.
we've had this conversation about baseball. The steroid era of
Yeah,
baseball was
that's
almost more
amazing.
fun.
It was
Like it was
amazing.
great. So I did just look it up here. First athletes to set new world records in the 100-meter sprint and the 50-meter freestyle will receive $1 million.
Okay.
Right
Well, I
now,
mean, you
they're
got to beat Usain Bolt and fucking Michael Phelps, the two greatest Olympians of all time.
and I'm going to be misquoting this here. And again, I would suggest you go watch that JRE podcast. But they talk about like Usain Bolt that he's like one of the top 5 runners who hasn't previously popped for performance
Could
enhancers.
you imagine Usain Bolt on the fucking juice?
It'd be pretty insane. And look,
He
as of
run a
right now,
4 flat in the 40.
yeah, for sure. And as of right now, they have 5 sets of sport arenas that they're looking at. Athletics, which looks like your normal track and field, aquatics, gymnastics, combat sports, and strength. So, combat sports, Ryan Garcia, or other fighters, you could be seeing former UFC fighters who are
Conor
aging
McGregor
themselves.
fucking juiced out of his mind, baby.
You will see combat sports UFC fighters who have aged themselves out and they cannot be taking that supplementation in order to keep themselves up to snuff with the younger guys whose bodies haven't breaking down, but they're not going to be able to compete anymore. Well, this extends their lifespan in the sport potentially. So you could see boxing, MMA, those sorts of things. You could see some big names coming. They've talked about how many athletes they have on board already. It sounds like a lot. And former professional athletes, you have former Olympians, current athletes, current Olympians who have all signed up, said, yeah, I'm on board for this. I want to do this. They aren't releasing names or anything like that yet because obviously it's a tricky subject. But the thought process is that, hey, you know, if you have used performance enhancers once, it doesn't disqualify you from competing in the Olympics or competing in the sport of your choice. You have to be off of it for X amount of time. There could be potential penalties and stuff like that if you are on these things within certain windows. But that being said, if the Olympics are every 4 years, maybe 3 of those 4 years off, I'm juicing it. I'm in the enhanced games. So we could be seeing some crazy shit here before too long. The enhanced games are planning on kicking off their first event the second half of 2025. And I, for one,
This is live golf for track and field. And I'm fucking here for it, bro. Like, this is awesome.
Look, it's always cool. Like, it's what we see in normal sports. Whenever new records are set, it's something that you feel as a human achievement. Like, wow, we as a human race have done something incredible, especially when it comes to the Olympics. And that bar keeps getting pushed further and further and further. And we kind of know why.
The caliber of athlete, from the olden days to now, is drastically better. And the science from then to now is drastically better. Like, humans are not just getting incrementally better. We're going to get exponentially better as we evolve and continue to find new medical advances. Like, this is one of those things. I don't want to necessarily turn this into like some sort of crazy sci-fi futuristic thing, but like, it is not out of the realm of possibility that we are going to do things that are unbelievable, like we don't think are possible with stuff like this, like with the juice, with just seeing how far you can push the human body.
To put this in perspective, 100 years ago, if you blow your knee out, if you ruin your hip, you're a gimp. You're just a gimp. That's normal person, normal life. You need a hip replacement. There is no such thing. You are just a gimp now. Medical advances, scientific advances allows us to repair the human body. We have drugs, supplements, things like that to keep ourselves healthier. Not all the time. Obviously, people abuse these things, but I'm just saying, like, science and technology has advanced. We are still advancing, but in some realms, we're holding ourselves back. Performance enhancers are one of the realms that we are holding ourselves back in order to maintain a baseline of competition. Problem is, we know people aren't abiding by those baselines. And now we're going to have an opportunity to see what the human body can do when we are unleashed.
Hell yeah. I want to see, well, The Rock's already on Juice. Never mind. No, it's going to say, I want to see The Rock on Juice fight a gorilla, but The Rock's already on Juice. And a gorilla, dude, the gorillas at the Cleveland Zoo are dope. And the fucking male he is scared. Like in the cage, he's like, scares me. He would just, dude, it is a crazy powerful animal. But that's not what we're talking about. My man, do we have anything else for the nice show?
I think that's
I love the enhanced games. I hope it goes through. I cannot wait to watch it.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to happen.
Humans are going to do some fucking crazy
working
things.
On a site to do it.
So here for it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
all righty,
man.
brother.
Let's get the hell out of here. Guys, I'm Mike. That is Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. We come to you every week, but we are off next week. My man is going to pick up his boys, so we are going to take the week off. The week after, promise you, we will be back. There will be more content coming out. You can catch all of our content over at NoSleevesNetwork.com. It's going to have links to the Lineman Lounge, The Talk, Trauma Romeo, Norski, and hopefully here soon, a couple other people. But guys, if you want to interact with us, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, hit us up. We can be found everywhere. Just search for the Lineman Lounge. But with that, we are going to get the fuck out of here. Evo, give the people one last word.
Enhance the human body, baby. Let's see it.
Hell yeah. We're getting the fuck out of here. I'm Mike. That's Evo.
Raw milk, baby.